Welcome to Built into the Bronx. I'm Iverson here, your guest host. Today I have Miguel Gomez. He's a software engineer at Snapchat. And first thing I want to ask is, how was your day today?
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I went to the gym. I did some work, got a haircut, and it's Friday, so I'm chilling. I'm chilling.
Good. So it sounds like nobody said no commits on Friday or nothing like that. So you don't have to worry
Oh,
about your
a
weekend.
few commits, but I do it quickly, get my questions, out there, and then yeah, we keep it pushing. But it's Friday, so we don't deploy anything, and yeah, it's more of a chill day.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So first question I had to ask you is, what's your first job that you got right out of college? And how did you get that job?
My first job out of college. So my first job out of college was with Lyft, with their self-driving car division. Pretty much, I went to the University of Albany,
Okay.
and my senior year, I pretty much had three offers. It was Google, Lyft for the self-driving car division, and Chan Zuckerberg, pretty much Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan's their nonprofit in California. And out of those three, just went with Lyft. Went with Lyft. That was my first job. Moved out there in Cali. Was there for a year. Then I got laid off because of COVID. That's a whole
Uh,
story. But that was my first job. Very exciting. Definitely changed the trajectory of my career very quickly. And yeah, that was my first time out there.
Yeah, that's cool. So what made you choose Lyft over Google or the Mark Zuckerberg job?
Yeah. So I think pretty much I was looking for a few things, a lot of growth opportunity, flexibility, and also compensation.
Okay.
That was my first job out of college. And when you have three job offers, you just get the bidding going, you know.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I
And then
understand.
yeah, so that was pretty much, at 20, how old was I? 21, 22. Yeah, that was high priority for me, for sure. So yeah, so that's how I made that decision. So
Yeah, so another question. How did you get that job? Did you do networking or was it just straight up apply online?
yeah, that's a good question. I It's a pretty complicated one. So the way it started was, I went to the University of Albany. Uh, I was majoring in computer science, a Bachelor of Arts in computer science, and I pretty much needed to get an internship. That was like pretty much my goal when I was in school. And sophomore year, I said, I'm trying to get into Silicon Valley. I'm trying to work out there with the best in the world. I need an internship, right? I
Yeah,
need experience. And I don't go to a target school, right?
yeah,
Even though I love SUNY Albany, they have great programs for computer science. A lot of other competitors, there's Stanford,
yeah,
there's MIT, there's Harvard, Columbia, NY. I mean, the list goes on, right?
yeah.
Um, so so I know if I was going to break in, that's what I needed to do. So I pretty much was applying for internships almost every single day. And I got into this program called Code 2040. I don't know if you've heard of that program.
I'm have have not heard of that program so far, so
I'll
can you just
send it to
explain a
you.
little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send
For
it to you
the
after this. But it's pretty much a program where it tries to take Black and Latino students and try to get them in front of recruiters at
Okay.
big tech companies. Um, Pretty much, when you cold apply, you're not going to get a bunch of responses, especially if you don't have the network or the target school, which I did not have both. Um, and so I got into this program. They put me in front of recruiters. They looked at my resume. and got interviews and land my first internship with Intuit, the creators of TurboTax and QuickBooks. And then after that, the rest is history. My senior year, I barely needed to apply to get interviews. So I was interviewing.
Okay.
They would just email me like my foot was in the door. And so that was the first step, right? To get the interviews.
Yeah.
And I pretty much laid out the picture. You got to get experience, right? Then it's passing the interview, right? And I'm pretty sure, there's a bunch of videos online how to pass the interview, leak code, right? Do mock interviews, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I was just pretty much practicing every day. To put it, blunt, it was every single day. It was in between classes. It was sometimes during classes. I was practicing data structures and algorithms every day. I was trying to get better every single day. So when I get that interview, I'm going to kill it. And that's pretty much what happened. A lot of no's, a lot of no's, a lot of no's in between. But once I was able to get that huge amount of interviews instead of just one per every 6 months, right?
Yeah.
My chances of getting yeses dramatically increased. And so even though I landed those 3 offers, I interviewed with a bunch of others that said no, like Facebook, right? So that's pretty much how it went down from a high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So at the end of the day, most people don't really realize it's just a numbers game at that point. So it's like the more you have put into the door, the better it gets. So I want to know, like, how did it feel like when you get laid off? What was your thought process? Like, how can I bounce back? Because some people, with this tech market now, they
Yeah.
kind of experiencing that similar thing.
Yeah. That was also another journey, if I was to be honest. If I was to be honest with Lyft, I did not have the best experience. That's because, I pretty much didn't get a good performance review.
Um,
That's because of different reasons. I believe some reasons were out of my control. But so when I got laid off, it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. Because I only had 8 months of experience plus now because I'm not a new grad, I'm not in the new grad pipeline. I'm in the full-time pipeline
yeah.
with other engineers with a lot more experience on the job with it, just experience in general with interviews and all that. So if I'm interviewing outside of the new grad pipeline, it was really tough on me. It took me 6 months to grab a new job. A lot of no's. It wasn't an issue to get interviews, right? With
Yeah.
my experience at Lyft and stuff like that, but it was a lot of no's and hard no's, a lot of hard no's. I did a lot of interviews I felt like I actually did pretty well in, and still getting no's. So, and part of it was I had a few things working against me. Like I said, my experience. So I'm competing against other people, which is way better than me, right?
Yeah.
And then also I was also doing front end at Lyft. So I also had front end interviews, and I wasn't a big fan of front end at the time. I'm a back end engineer now. So
Yeah.
that was also working against me. All my interviews had to have some type of front end or a role that had some front end for them to consider me. And yeah, and those interviews, plus I was getting system design interviews now too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so many things working against me. Like honestly, there was a point where I thought my career was over. Like if I was to be honest, I
Yeah.
thought my career was over. I was like, there's no way I'm passing this. I'm getting all these no's. They're throwing me all these I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Plus, I had that bad experience at Lyft with a low performance grade, right? Like I moved out of California because I didn't have a job and I couldn't get another one. So I'm not going to pay San Francisco rent. Right.
Yeah.
So I moved back to New York, living with my parents. It was tough, but how did I get through that? I just kept studying. I just kept studying. I just went back into the mode I was back in college, where I was studying every day. I was practicing every day. Um, and I would do a few hour sessions of doing deliberate practicing. That's the key. You got to deliberate practice. So, and I could get into details about how I practice and stuff like that, but
Yeah, please do. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it starts with the consistency with the practice. You gotta be consistent. Some days are gonna be better than others. You're not a machine,
Mhm.
but the mentality of like I'm committed to this, and I have to get better every day. That was literally, like, it sounds cliche, but that was literally like my world. Like everything else came second. Like if I had plans to do something later in the day, I have to wake up at this time in order to put my hours in.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
back in college, like that level of consistency, like I don't know if that Miguel will ever come back, if I was to be honest with you. Cause the type of time I was on, just to give you an example of like what was going through my head, I was, if it was Saturday, I would wake up excited. Not because like it was Saturday, I didn't have classes and I could just chill with friends, go out tonight, right? Um, I was excited because during the weekday I have classes, so I can only study and practice my data structure algorithms only for like a few minutes, an hour or so, without context switching. Right, then I got to go to class and I got to do homework. Right, and on Saturdays I woke up excited because like, wow, I don't got classes. I could wake up early, hit the library, and do an 8 hour session without anybody bothering me. And I had my friends that came and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I was like, yo, this is where I could really get things done, like for real, for real. So that was the mentality of I'm gonna get better, and yeah, that was my motivation, pretty much.
Yeah, so definitely, I feel like the same thing happened to me during college. So like instead of like it being the weekend, I'll just stay up all night on Friday,
Mhm.
and then I'll just sleep for a little bit, then just do the same thing every single day. So I'll stay up until like 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning just programming. Just fight until like I can't fight the sleep anymore, and then I just go back to sleep, go to class real quick to do the same thing.
Nah,
So like
I definitely feel that. Definitely feel that. I don't know if I don't know how you did that. My routine was waking up early, and so I got the rest of the day. But whatever works for someone to put in those hours, for sure.
yeah,
Like, because that's what you got to do. So
definitely. I will also say, what were some advices that you got from either your first job at Lyft or your current job that you think is useful for anybody trying to get into this industry?
yeah. So getting into the industry,
Yeah, or either getting into the industry or actually, yeah, let's just start off with getting into the industry.
yeah, getting into the industry, like I said before, it's simple. Like it really is. Like there's rules. Think of baseball, right? There's rules to the game. There's strikeout, there's home runs, how you get on base. With this, I really feel like it's the same thing. There's rules, right? You got to get the interview and you got to pass them, right? Now, first you got to get interviews. If you're struggling with getting interviews, how do you get more interviews? You got to have experience. Now, that sounds like a paradox. I don't got no experience. How am I going to get interviews to get some experience, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I will give the same advice of what I did when I was a sophomore in college. Pretty much was, I connected with a friend, or I networked with a friend. He's now a good friend of mine to this day. He was intern at Google at the time, and pretty much he knew some people that had a startup in Queens at a WeWork. And technically, this was my first internship, but it was, I wasn't getting paid for it. It was kind of like, these group of guys are working on this thing out of WeWork. You should go join them. And, there were a bunch of great guys. They were like in the early 20s, guys from Queens. And, I was losing money going to that WeWork to work for them because I had to pay for the metro car, I had to pay for lunch, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I was offering free labor, if not negative labor, to get some type of internship, right? To get some type of experience. And I think, honestly, no one's going to say no to free labor. I think that's something that a lot of people don't really promote or give advice on, is that obviously you need experience, how to get that. You have to be applying, but you also got to be doing something that's going to raise your chances, right? So yeah. I think if you're not working and you're trying to get a job, might as well do a job, right?
That makes sense.
Land something that you want. And there's probably many different ways to go about it, but I think getting as much experience as you can, so you could put on your LinkedIn, so you could put on your resume, right? That's going to increase your chances. Because when I had that internship on my resume, when I got into the Code 2040 program, and recruiters, it's a program where all they'll do is look at your resume, the recruiters from all these different companies. If they're looking at my resume, they see, okay, this guy has some experience, right? Now I'm ahead of the game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So someone trying to get in, get their first job, it's like you gotta get some experience. And the advantage you have is that, if you're coming out of school, if you're in school, the advantage is that you're very young. Your career is going to be very long. Just try to get some experience. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Working for free now is very attractive than later on, right? It's not going to be, so you need to put more ammo in your toolbox, which is your resume, your LinkedIn, who you worked for, what you did. That's how you get it done. And then obviously when you get those interviews, you got to pass them. And that's, there's a bunch of resources online how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, so I guess you could say that when you're like working for free, like they're more flexible too with your time too. So at the end of the day, you could just come in for like part-time while still working another job. So it kind of is like a little bit of a sacrifice for like a bigger goal in a sense.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I don't even think it's too much of a sacrifice. I mean, I was sacrificed. I was losing money. As a sophomore with no job, yeah, that hurt. But like, there was a bigger picture. There was a better long-term goal. I knew this was going to be way worth more than what it is right now. So you got to have that long-term mindset versus that short-term.
Yeah. So another thing. So I know that even though like after you've gotten your first job, you continue networking, right? So what are some networking tips that you give to other people while they're either while they're trying to get the job or while they're still in the first job? Just regular networking tips.
Yeah. Networking. There's many different ways of networking, and I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of like, resources online out there. The best way to go about it, honestly, it's just exposing yourself to as much different people who are in those same spaces you want to be in, right? And that's also trying to get mentors, right? When I got that very first internship in Queens, the guy that was interning at Google, he was essentially my mentor. I would hit him up, asking him questions, what he thinks, right? So it's really just exposing yourself to a lot of different people, putting yourself in the right places. And it's not all about what they can do for you, but what can you do for them, and yeah, and just also, You can also ask people, I'm looking for a mentor. A lot of people will just be your mentor. They would like to give that hand. So, um, definitely early mentors. Mentors of people where they are is where you want to be. Definitely, those are the people who should be your mentors. And in career, that's pretty easy from there on out because now you're in a company. Just network with people in your company. Um, Build a great reputation in your company. Like put in effort into your career. People who will like to work with you are going to want to work with you in the future if they go to other places. It starts to snowball after that. But the big thing is you got to put in the effort. You got to put in the effort, networking, looking for those mentors. Then in career, you have to put in the effort of where you are, the position you're in, the responsibilities you have. And then after that, you could still also, myself, I also am looking for other mentors, but different levels of mentors as well. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. But early career, that's the playbook.
Okay, and one final thing. So when like you know how software engineering our fields constantly evolving, how do you find time while in a busy schedule like Snapchat to further your skills and actually just figure out what kind of things you want to expand upon or what kind of new things you want to learn?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm working on that right now. Um, you got to have a schedule. You got to have a schedule. You got to have a plan. And you got to have goals. It sounds cliche, but I'll give you an example. So my team is in the West Coast, so my day starts a little later than most people. I'm not starting at 9. I'm starting more around 10:30, 11. So I'll wake up early to either go to the gym or I'm reading this textbook right here. You can see it right here. This is pretty much the Bible of system design.
Actually, I was planning on getting that book too. That's the funny part.
Yeah. No, this is a great book. This is a book. This is a book everyone should have, especially software engineers that work in distributed systems. Like this is a book that needs to be like go through very diligently. So it's a big book. It's a big book. But I'll wake up early. I'll get my pen. I'll get my highlight. I'll go through it slowly. I will try to understand the concept, and then I'll write a callback log. If no one knows what a callback log is, you can look it up online. But it's a system of studying, so it's a lot slower. But I'll wake up, start my mornings that way. I'm trying, and I know it's a good morning if I start off like I learned something new because this topic is very deep, it's very complex, and that's one way I try to get better. Right. Another way of I'm trying to get better and exposing myself is even at work itself. I try to work on new things. I try to take on challenging things, take on things that are outside of my comfort zone. So yeah, I'm just following a schedule of, in the morning, I'm going to do X. Then I got my work hours. And then if I want to do something else, I got this X amount of hours to dedicate to something else. Like whether it's like, a hobby of mine or something like that. So, but a schedule and being diligent with your time I think that's the key.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So finally, I just want to know, do you want to promote any social medias or do you want to promote any books? You kind of did one already with
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
design, but do you have any other books or podcasts you want to promote that kind of like to learn or just listen to on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. I listen to a bunch of things. And honestly, I should slow down with the amount of podcasts I listen to. But things that will help like a student, I was talking about being diligent in your time and practice. I think Cal Newport is really, really good. Like that guy's a beast when it comes to productivity, cognitive productive work. He really lays out the world, the work world, and his concept of deep work is very like it's very good. It's a very good concept. So anything dealing with Cal Newport, he's written books. He has a podcast. I would say listen to Cal Newport. Book, I'm reading this book right now called Grit by Angela Duckworth. She's a PhD in psychology. Her research is about resiliency. All the things I already know, but it's kind of cool to see the research behind why effort is more important than intelligence. So I think that's important for people early in their careers in college. Is effort. Forget the IQ. Forget the school, the name of the school. Right? It's all about that resiliency. So
Yeah, like Mamba mentality, basically.
When I'm in the gym, I'm listening to a Kobe motivational video. I'm not joking. So it's that Mamba mentality. So
All right. Thank you so much for having coming here with us. And this was actually a really good chat. Thank you, and bye, guys.
All right, for sure. Thank you, Iverson.
Thank you.
I heard that we hitting that 42nd, let's go. I heard that we hitting that 34th, let's go. I heard that we hitting that 14th, let's go. What? I heard that we hitting that Union Square, let's go.